Okay, got a Volvo SX sterndrive here, somewhere around 2002 I think. It's an SX-M. Came in for winterizing and had a whole bunch of oil leaking out the back of it here. So I pulled it off at that time. It's February now, and what's going on here is it's leaking out the shift seal at the bottom. I don't know if you can see that or not. Cause of that is it was overfilled. It was filled right to the top, and likely the pressure blew the seal out. I'm going to show you how to fill these up properly once we're done with changing this seal. The customer wants to do it on the cheap, so we're only going to do exactly only what's required for it, which is just basically change that seal and the O-ring behind. So let me get set up and we'll go. Okay, so I've already drained the oil out of this thing. Basically, we're just going to remove this cover. First thing you need to do is there's a little cotter pin that holds this shift rod on. You pull it out. There's a washer on the back. Get that out of your way. Don't lose it. And you got four 3/8 bolts. I'm going to pull out. Spring loaded, so be careful. So, and that's your shift actuator right there. Okay, so I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this. This is your shift actuator. Basically, it sits like that. You have reverse and forward, which moves this up and down. It's an eccentric shaft, which moves the cone clutch up and down to shift your gears inside your drive, forward and reverse. So basically, you have this piece and a spring inside there. Okay, take those, stick them there for now. You're going to have this, there's a roll pin. Pull that out is going to pull, and then take this piece out. Then we can go ahead and pull this off, get the seal out, change the O-ring, and we're basically done. Clean it up a bit. I use a small punch and a small chisel to do this, and a tiny little hammer. Be really gentle with it. You'll feel it when it comes out. Now, I normally use side cutters. I'll turn this around. Careful not to damage it. Pry the piece out. Okay, so there's your hole. There's your hole where the roll pin will go through when you put it back together. I'm going to pop this out. Now, your roll pin is down inside there. Usually it's not going to come out without a little bit of help with some brake clean. Okay, and there it is. The oil kind of holds it in there. So, pop out this O-ring. We're going to change that, and we're going to change this shift seal. I'm not clamping this in the vise. I'm just using it as a workbench kind of thing. So the trick to getting these out, you can't get it from the back side because everything's flush. There's nothing you can really get in there. So a trick I've learned is take your really small punch, and you got to be really careful not to damage it. Go in. And bend the seal in like that. should be able to pry it out. Okay, see, so I've got it bent in like that. Now it'll come out like that. There's your garbage seal. Okay, I'm going to go to the parts washer, clean this up. I'm going to clean this up. I always take a Scotch-Brite, do one of these on it. So, back in a second. Oh, and I wire wheel this all up, but if you want to get fancy. Okay, I got my parts all cleaned up here. I wire wheeled this on the grinder, Scotch-Brite, this just going like this. It's all cleaned up nicely. These, if they're in tough shape, I'll usually clean them up a lot better and paint them, but this one's in good shape, so we're just going to go ahead and put it back together. So basically all you need is you got your shift shaft seal, your shift seal. It's part number 853868, Volvo part number, and the O-ring 925093, part number for Volvo. These are the same ones that fit the older 290s, 280s, and all that stuff as well, so it carries right through. It's a different seal on the newer SX-As though. So, that's for later. Open this up. There's instructions in here, which is all it's going to do is tell you that the metal side goes down or in, which you can tell if you look at it. I don't know, you probably can't see it on the camera, but there's a metal lip. This side's a lot thinner. It does not have the metal lip. So the metal side goes in. What I do, I take a little bit of grease and fill in the groove on the side going down, which is the metal side, and set it there pretty flat. Take a bearing race installer. It's larger than the seal. Hold it flat. Usually 2 hits will get me pretty flush there. Then I'll take a special drive tool, seal tool. This has a little lip on it. It's going to recess this inside there if all goes well. Use my same piece. Want to make sure it's all closed around. Want to go to my seal, make sure it's even around, that it's not crooked, which is not. Everything seems fine there. And I take some more grease and fill the inside. Take a little bit more grease and fill the channel on the outside. Not too much, not too little. Alright. So that's about it for that. Time to install our piece again. I usually take some gear oil, lube her up. Install the piece, turn it to where the thing goes in, hold it with your hole facing up, watching through the top hole to see my piece come in. I know roughly where it's supposed to be anyways. I'm just tapping really gentle here. So I can basically see my hole lined up. Take my roll pin. And you gotta be really gentle with this. Super gentle. Something's fucking up on me there. That's not normal. Okay, don't do what I just did. So then you want to make sure it turns smoothly, and that's really about it. Install the spring, install the actuator. Now there's a way this goes. I don't think you could do it wrong, but I'll show you when we go to install it. Just going to go ahead and clean up the mating surface on the drive and install it back again. Okay, I've installed the O-ring. I use a product called number 2, gasket sealant number 2, made by Loctite. You actually don't really need any, but I put a little bit around. Bear with me a sec. Okay, I got my number 2 smeared around in there. So when you go to install this, little dip is up, and that is the way the shoe goes. I don't think you can even install it like that backwards. I don't think you can. It won't fit, but that is the way it goes. Basically, stick it in gently. Go in. Remember, it's spring loaded, so you gotta hold it. Get one of the bolts started. Be careful not to over tighten these. You do not do this with a gun. It's just going into aluminum. I use a speed handle. Okay, once I got them all bottomed out, not sure what the torque is in the book. I know just by feel, but you just basically want to snug them up. All right. Make sure it shifts. Turning your prop shaft one way or the other. That seems to work. Make sure it's smooth, not sticky. That's that. Shift actuator back on. Washer. You may want to use a new cotter pin if you need to. Depending how many times this has been done, you can just straighten them out a bit. Go in. Like I said, this guy wants to do it on the cheap, so. And that's that. Now I'm going to pressure test it, vacuum test it, and I'll show you how to fill it with oil properly. Okay, I got a vacuum tester here, pressure tester here, main tools of a marine mechanic. I'm going to go ahead and put my drain plug in. Level plug in. Snug them up. I'm going to leave the dipstick out. I'll take this adapter, thread it into the top. Take my pressure gauge, thread it into the adapter. Now you could do this if you don't have the adapter. You can always put the dipstick in and pressure test it from this hole or from the bottom hole. I find this just easier. I'm pretty tall. Pump it up to about 15 psi, something like that. And then usually if there's a leak, if there's a bad leak, you're going to see it right away. The gauge is going to go down, but if you I usually just let it sit for a bit. If you do have a leak, you take your spray bubbles, your squirt bottle with soap and water in it, squirt around any areas that may leak. You know, usually the prop would be off if there is a leak, to check for the prop shaft seals leaking, or possibly a bent shaft. You want to turn your shafts. You want to move this around. I'll try and make it leak. And so I'm going to let that sit for a few minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the vacuum tester gauge. All it's doing is testing for vacuum coming in, any leaks that way, and then we'll fill it with oil. Okay, pressure test and vacuum test is done. Everything's all good. Fill it with oil. So I removed my adapter out of the top. We're going to leave that open where the dipstick goes. Remove my drain screw. You want to put new O-rings on those as well. I'm going to remove my level screw. Here's the thing with the SXs. You want to fill them up to where oil starts coming out of this level hole. Take a dirty rag, shove it in there. Well, obviously I'm at a shop, so we have bulk oil here. But if you're doing it yourself, you might be using one of those hand pumps. It's going to take you a while longer, that's for sure. So I thread that in, pump it up, turn it on and wait. Takes a while, it's pretty slow, but what can you do? Okay, so oil's just started coming out of the top of this thing, or the vent screw hole. So I'm going to go ahead, put my vent screw back in. I just shut off the oil filler. And tighten it back up. You can see the rag caught all the oil, so there's no mess. Still nice and dry and clean there. Now, if you were to take the dipstick, I know you can't see the top of it at this angle, but if you put the dipstick in, it shows empty. It shows nothing on it. However, I just filled it to there. Now this is where overfilling becomes a problem on these things. A lot of people might not even use this. They might just go by the dipstick, checking it every 2 seconds while they're filling. You want to use this vent screw. When it's filled to there, that is the right amount of oil. If I let this sit, which I'm going to do and show you in a minute, it shows nothing on the dipstick, but once the oil settles, it will be on the exact level. So we're going to let it sit for however long it takes so I can show you that. Then we go ahead and put the bottom screw in, and we're done. Oh, one other thing. There was no water in this drive, so it wasn't milky or anything. But if you were to do this job and it was all milky, this drive would need to be flushed out. But I'm going to do a different video when I have a drive that does need to be flushed out, and I'll show you how I go about doing that then. Okay, well that didn't take long, probably 2 minutes, if that. Now, I haven't added any more oil to it or anything. I put my dipstick in, I pull it out. I don't know if you can see, but it's right on the line. It's absolutely perfect. So, that goes back in. New O-ring, obviously. Do not tighten these with a wrench. They don't need to be all that tight. It's sealed with an O-ring, which holds it. It's not going to come loose. Just snug with your screwdriver. When you're working on drives, you want a short, fat screwdriver. Yeah, so that goes in. I'm going to go ahead, pull the bottom out, install the drain screw in the bottom. Clean up any oil that's spilled, usually around the bottom. And she's done, ready for an install. The boat's not coming back till spring. I'll do a video on a re-and-re on one of these when I have one to do. Maybe when I install this one. Okay, so she's done and ready to go. Full of oil, pressure vacuum tested. We replaced the shift seal. And the O-ring that's behind the plate, fill it with oil. Next up, we have a Bravo over here that's actually same thing, it's just sitting there leaking. I kind of know where that's leaking from as well. It's in rough shape, so I'm going to clean that up, but that'll be the next video. So I'm going to try and do some videos over the winter of stuff, winter projects I'm working on. If you're interested, like it and share it. Maybe you'll learn something, maybe you won't. But like I said, if you enjoy it, watch for some more videos. I'll do what I can. Thank you.